Okay, so this is my second video. It's actually the third attempt at this, but I did the first video. I used Guardians of the Galaxy. I went through some powers, and I'm trying to keep these as short as possible. And I also mentioned that I am doing everything before the retconning back in the early 2000s. So everything from 2000 all the way back down to 80s superpowers and stuff like that. And some things I don't have visuals for, but the next team I'm going to do, as I was hoping to do, I'm not going to break it down into more videos, so I'm just going to do all the X-Men teams, not currently, but the ones that I know and I remember. Alright, so we're going to start with the New Mutants first. So there's between 7 and 13 of them. I believe the top 7 were the main ones that the show was focused on, and there were some background mutants if they even counted as mutants. So we're going to go with, first we have Cannonball, then we have Mirage, then we have Karma, then we have Cypher, then we have Warlock, then we have Wolfsbane. And every now and again you may have Kitty Pryde and Magic. So we're going to let Kitty Pryde and Magic be self-explanatory, because Magic, she has a soul sword, and she can make teleportation portals, so she can pretty much wipe out zombies by just teleporting them somewhere else to make them someone else's problem. Kitty Pryde just phases through things, so she's, unless she picks up her skill level, she could basically just keep running and phasing through things and herd the zombies, be bait, and that would handle that. But then you have Cannonball. Cannonball has a blast field that surrounds his entire body, and up in the more recent years, when Cable took over the team, he had the ability to control the blast field and actually use it as projectiles. Well, they retconned all that. So then you have Sunspot, who I left off in the list by accident. He basically turns pitch black and has super strength, as every member of an X-Men team usually has one strong guy in there. So Roberto's powers is really simple. He turns super strong, so him and some zombies, the zombies would lose. Cypher would probably be your weakest link, and so you'd have to keep him with Warlock the Shapeshifter, because Warlock can form anything, and he could probably keep you guys pretty decent and high. Now, after that you have Mirage and you have Karma. I can't remember what the hell Karma's power is, so we'll just put her in the auction block. Now, Mirage, on the other hand, I'm not going to say she's useless, but she kind of is useless because her power is to manifest your dreams and your nightmares into living things. So if zombies don't dream and zombies don't have fear, what could she do to fight zombies? She'll take a bow and arrow to your head because she's also Cheyenne Indian. And her flying horse, because she's also was a Valkyrie, can do some pretty decent damage to things that goes on around in that. But also her powers. So she would have to manifest somebody's nightmares to fight the zombies, which doesn't make her 100% useless, but also like Karma, it puts her in the option block. So, Doug's going to be in the option block, or Cypher. So you have to worry about Wolfsbane, who turns into a werewolf, and she can just bite, slice, dash, crash all these other zombie things apart. And that handles your New Mutants. You only have 3 of them in the option block, which is Cypher, Mirage, and Karma. Alright? Because I don't know what Karma's powers is anymore. That's that. I missed the New Mutant. Magma. Magma has the power of volcanic fire. She can also summon volcanoes from the earth. So, she'd be good in a fight against zombies because she could just burn them to death. She was like the Firestar before Firestar. Okay? So now we're out of the New Mutants, unless you want Lila Chinley in there. Lila Chinley could also probably go in the auction block. Magic could probably go in the option block because they basically both have the same thing. They open up portals and they can shoot them anywhere. So that's that. Now let's move on to the Uncanny X-Men. Alright? So you have about 13 of them in the 80s. Some not used so much. And we're going from 80s and 90s. So we're going to start off with probably the lowest level of X-Men, which would be Kitty Pryde and Jubilee. Again, Kitty Pryde can just phase through stuff, so she can play bait. Jubilee, she can blind the hell out of zombies, but we don't even know if zombies can actually see. So that's an issue. We don't know if zombies can see because no one's really ever invested in to find out if zombies are blind. Do they work on smell? Do they work on noise? Now it also depends on your type of zombie. If you're in those World War Z zombies, you definitely want somebody with superpowers that have the ability to shoot shit. But I don't know if Jubilee qualifies for that. Now, the reason why I'm putting those two in the lower level, because as good as their powers are as time goes on, for the 80s their powers were like really not that phenomenal. Now you have Polaris and Havoc. Both of them have the powers to projectile stuff. But zombies, when you're dead, unless you're buried in like a metal suit, Polaris can summon metal around her and use it, to wipe them out. And Havoc, he just shoots radiation. As long as the sun is shining, he's never running low on power. Because the sun powers up him and his brother Cyclops in his optic blast, which they somehow or another decided during the retconning that Cyclops doesn't have optic blast powers. His eyes are a portal to another dimension in which he turns a dial on his little Cyclops glasses that controls how much he can use the portal to direct lasers from his glasses at people. What the hell were the writers thinking on that? But that being neither here or there, his optic blast could probably fry a whole frank of zombies, and if he opens that bitch up really wide as he once did on Mr. Sinister, yeah, you got a nuclear holocaust right there. And since Havoc is his brother, all Havoc has to do is power him up, and you can wipe out all the damn zombies in your path. And you have Storm. Storm is a weather witch. She can make lightning, make it rain, make it snow. So she can pretty much slow down the zombies, if not stop them at all. She can use lightning. Come on, people. So let's move on to Sunfire. Sunfire, his name is self-explanatory. He has fire from his fist, and he can also fry the hell out of zombies. Let's go on. We have Banshee. Banshee, Sonic Scream, is probably powerful enough. If it can rip a tank apart, then it can probably rip apart a zombie. Then you have Colossus. Colossus is organic steel. So if people are injured, we can just throw Colossus out there and he can maintain his form for damn near next to forever. And he's very, very invulnerable to bites from zombies. So him and Kitty Pryde can both play bait. And since they both were lovers at one time, and may still be because I don't really know, they could lure the zombies in as bait and have Wolverine claw them to death. Because his healing factor is a good immunity against the zombie apocalypse. So you have those guys. I'm not done. I'm still an X-Men. I'm going to go into X-Factor in a minute, but we're still an X-Men. Now, if you have Thunderbird, who is another strong guy, he's invulnerable but not impervious to bites, but he is strong enough that he can hold his own in the zombie apocalypse. And then you have Rogue, and you have Psylocke. In the 80s, Psylocke was a European woman with little to no skill at fighting, but she did wear armor, and she could fight a little bit, but most of her powers was telepathic. So, since they're zombies, and they're brainless, she's going to be in the option block with Professor Charles Xavier because they're zombies, and they're going against zombies with telepathics. Zombies are dead. They probably have no main mind that you can manipulate or control, which makes both of them practically useless. And they're going to be in the option block with the New Mutants, Karma, and Mirage, and Kitty Pryde, and Magic. Although Magic is more of a defendable person than the other ones. And same thing with Mirage, but Mirage needs to be able to pull someone's nightmares out. That's why she's in the option block. Now Xavier and them, as though they are the most powerful telepaths, they don't have the energy to shoot things out. Now, I will say, if we take Psylocke, Asian Psylocke, who is still, her soul is still European Psylocke, the body swap and all that. If we put her there, she learned how to manifest her psychic knives, which makes her more dangerous than OG Psylocke. So, if you use newer Psylocke, and provided that she's still Asian with the manifestation powers to control her psychic knife and stab people and stuff, then she can pretty much clean house. But we're going to use her as well, but since they're the same person, she still has to sit in the option block. And the reason she's sitting in the option block is the simple fact that they're the same person, she's just in a new body. So when she got upgraded, she won't be in the option block. But while she's OG Betsy Braddock, she's in the option block. Now, moving on. We went through Storm, we went through Rogue, now let's go to Longshot. Longshot, he throws knives. His superpower is luck. And since he throws knives and his superpower is luck, he doesn't miss. So, he's not in the option block, but he's knocking on the option block door. But since his superpower is luck and he's not really a human, he's a mutant from another planet, which basically is not another planet, it's another dimension because of the TV dimension in which Mojo comes from. He is knocking on the option block door. Because his mutant powers is luck, the only thing that he would have in a defense against the zombies is the throwing the daggers and using his luck powers to make sure that he doesn't miss. But other than that, he's practically useless. He's good at hand-to-hand combat, but his hand-to-hand fighting skills fails in comparison next to his girlfriend Dazzler and next to Wolverine and Rogue and Happy and all that. But for his world, he was an ace. But that's mostly because his superpowers is luck. Got that? So, yeah, he's knocking on the option block door. But let's go into Dazzler. Dazzler draws in sound and produces beams of light. Her beams of light can be controlled into high-powered lasers that she fires from her hands. So she's really good at shooting projectiles too. Her only thing is that she's not mentally a fighter. She's physically a fighter because she's had to survive against some really tough characters. So that being said, she's learned how to fight. But if she had a choice, she'd rather be making an album or practicing law. Because she was supposed to be a lawyer as well as a singer. There you go. So that covers the 80s X-Men with the exception of I left off Forge. So Forge would be great. He's a Vietnam vet and he can make anything out of anything. So he can make weapons out of anything to just massively murder the shit out of some zombies. Alright? So let's go into the same team just a little bit upper into the 90s. Because in the 90s you were introduced into Gambit and Bishop. You definitely want Bishop because Bishop's one gun-toting sucker, and just like Dazzler, he absorbs sound and light and can shoot projectiles of light out of his hand, and he also packs a punch with his weapon. That being said, he's somebody you want with you in the zombie apocalypse. You also want Gambit because he can just touch zombies and blow them up because his powers is to kinetically charge shit and they explode. As you know, he uses a pack of playing cards. He kinetically charges them and throws them, and he blows people the fuck up. Well, he would blow zombies the fuck up. So that being said, you know, we go a little deeper. We bring in X-Factor. Now, technically, they're the original 5 X-Men. But there were 7 people in the team before I stopped reading it. And when I did New Mutants, most of those guys transferred over into X-Force. So the only X-Force members that I have to bring into play will come in with X-Factor. Alright, so we got that out the way. In X-Factor, you have the 5 original X-Men. You have Warren Worthington, the Angel. In his Archangel days, he had metal knives that he shot. And that's the Angel that we're focusing on because before I stopped reading, those metal wings blew off and he got his real wings back. And I don't know if his feathers could do the same thing as his razor wings that was a gift from Apocalypse. So, we're going to use Archangel versus Angel. And Angel will put him in the option block. But Archangel, one of the deadliest X-Men that ever was, his wingspan was amazing. And both of his wings could fire razor blade, razor sharp projectiles in any direction he so willed. Now, he couldn't control them mentally in like guided missiles, but wherever his target was, when he shot those things, they hit the mark. So you definitely want Angel there. You have Iceman, an Omega level mutant who can build ice out of air and walls and shoot projectiles. And if it wasn't for Emma Frost possessing his body, he would have never made it to his Omega level because she pushed him beyond his limits when she had control of his body. Now, I'm wondering if that's what made him go gay. But anyway, so he can shoot ice, he can shoot projectiles out of his hand, at least he could before the retconning and everything, and He was just damn good, and he can make toboggans. He can have fun with the zombies, make that guy slip and slide him all the way around and loop-de-loop and all kinds of other stuff. So you have him in a situation with zombies, and he can just make a wall to get rid of the zombies, or block the zombies in a wall. Now let's go into Beast, Henry McCoy. And we already done Cyclops, so we don't have to recover him for X Factor. But Beast, on the other hand, Beast is super strong and super smart. So that being said, there's nothing else I can say about Beast. He's super strong and super smart. He will find a way. He would probably be the guy that does all the strategies and send in all the fighters to do that. Now, let's go into Jean Grey. With and without the Phoenix Force, she's one of the most powerful telekinetics in the Marvel Universe. So, therefore, she would be a force to reckon with. With the Phoenix Force, though, she could probably wave her hand and destroy every zombie in existence. So we're off that. Let's see, I did Angel, I did Cyclops, I did Beast, I did Iceman, I just did Jean Grey. Now we add the other X Factor people. Not Wolfsbane, because she was already done in New Mutants. Richter, who was an X-Terminator, who is also a New Mutant, he has the power to make things quake. So therefore, he could always quake the ground under the feet, but his quaking level has been known before the retcon to shake things like tanks and stuff apart, so he probably could shake a zombie to bits. After all, they're already dead, so it's not really killing anybody. Okay, Multiple Man. Here's where things get interesting, because we're not sure if it was the real Damien Maddox, whatever. He has the power to make more of himself. That's pretty much it. So we're going to put him in the option block with the characters that I already put in the option block, and with Longshot knocking on the option block door. Now, that being said, we have Strong Guy or Good Eye. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. I never could, so I've always called him Good Eye, but his code name is Strong Guy. He used to be Dazzler's bodyguard, and his name pretty much speaks for himself. He's strong. He's probably not as strong as Colossus, but he can hold his own in a fight, just like Caliban, also an X-Man, also a Morlock, but we're not going to add all the Morlocks to the list because then this video will never stop. But him and Callisto were technically X-Men, so we will add them. Callisto, I forgot what her mutant powers is, so we'll put her as in the option block. Leech, his power, we don't want him anywhere near us in a zombie apocalypse because his power wipes out all of the mutants' powers. So yeah, we don't need that. Leech and his brother can go somewhere. They were also members of X-Terminator with the Japanese kid whose name I can't pronounce, but we would want him there because just like Forge, he can build anything out of anything. He just can't walk. Okay? And no, he's not to be mistaken with Amadeus Cho. Okay? But yeah, when I first met Amadeus Cho, I thought he was the same guy from X-Terminators because it was a Japanese thing. Except for Amadeus Cho is Korean. See how that worked out? Anyway, moving on from them. Multiple Man's powers of making duplicates of himself and being the Multiple Man has never really joined the X-Men, the X-Force, the X-Factor. It's always been one of those clones that has gone rogue. He would definitely be in the option block. Because what's he going to do? He's going to be bait. He's going to get bit. He's going to be infected. And then you'll have that as a really bad idea with a zombie that can keep making more zombies. That's not going to work. He's definitely in the option block. In fact, we're going to put his ass in the hockey penalty box. We don't want none of that to happen. So, now I'm going to go into X Factor. I'm going to leave off the X-Men New Mutants that I had already named, which was Sunspot, Cannonball, Mirage, Wolfsbane, because she was back and forth, and Richter. We're also going to leave off Rusty and Skid, so we'll do them first. Rusty has the power to shoot fire, and Skids makes force fields. So, they don't have to be in the option block. They can hold their own, and they work best as a team. That's your honorable mention for Rusty and Skids. They were also X-Terminators with Leech, his brother, and the Japanese guy, and Richter, and Meltdown. Now, Meltdown is where we will begin with X-Force, because Tabitha Smith, a.k.a. Boom Boom, a.k.a. Meltdown, a.k.a. Tabitha Smith again. She has the powers to make bombs. With her mutant ability, I forgot how she absorbs sound or whatever. She does basically the same thing as Jubilee, only her bombs pack a hell of a lot more punch. So, and they're really small and they can be really large. And up until Cable made her have these wrist gauntlets, which she channels her power to shoot them through the wrist gauntlets because she can only fling them so far. But with the wrist gauntlets, she learned how to shoot her bombs. She would manifest them and shoot them out of the damn thing. But I don't know how she loaded the damn things, but Cable was using future technology and Meltdown kept them. So, we'll do Cable last. So we're going to bring in Warpath now. He is the brother of Thunderbird, who died in the X-Men Friday mission, and just like his brother, James and John both have the same superpowers. They're very invulnerable, but they're not invincible, and they're super strong. Henceforth, his name is Warpath, because he goes on a warpath, and like Juggernaut, once he gets to moving, it's hard to stop him. However, his power is mostly his strength. So he counts mostly on his fighting skills and ability more than he counts on his strength. Which doesn't by any means makes him a slouch or puts him in the option block, but at the same time, him and Thunderbird don't have the power to manifest that, but they go on the same level as Strong Guy and Beast and Colossus. They're strong. Colossus is kind of in a level by himself, but you can put Juggernaut in there because Juggernaut did become an X-Man before it was all over. And once Juggernaut starts moving, he's just like Proudstar. There's no stopping him. The problem is Kane Marco doesn't have brain one when it comes to strategic logistics of getting the leadership role done. Now, this is a special case because Mystique was a member of X Factor. She was a member of X-Men, so I'm adding her to the list only because of that. Mystique, besides her combat skills, she needs to be in the option block because she basically just imitates people. She changes into other people. Now, I don't know if her powers give her the power to have the power of the people that she imitates because I can't remember. Plus, once they retconned the shit out of the X-Men, I stopped reading the comic. Alright, so we're going to get off of that now, and we're going to go to Cable. Cable and Shatterstar are the last two members of X-Force that and this Pharaoh and her sister. Both of them look like Wolfsbane, and they can fight, but they're cats instead of wolves. So, they're good for fighting. And as long as they're not fighting each other, they're good. Because both of them tended to kill each other, or tried to kill each other, and wound up Pharaoh leaving the X-Force and her sister staying in X-Force. You see how this soap opera's filling out. So, Shatterstar is the supposed son of Longshot and Dazzler from Mojo World, who came back into the past to not only get Cable to help him save his world, but also get Cable to help him go rescue Dazzler and Longshot, who are in trouble, and I think they're old people. But I don't know in Mojo's World if people actually age, but clearly he aged because he was a child of them, which you later find out depending on how long you stay reading the X Factor comic. Excuse me, the X-Force comic. So then, we bring in Cable. Nathan Charles Xavier Dayspring Summers. Yeah, long name, right? Well, Cable was a telekinetic. He's the son of Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, so he's got some good genes because Madeline Pryor is a clone of Jean Grey, and he's got a lot of power, although most of his powers he can barely use because he has to use it to hold his body together, but he has guns. Lots of guns. He also has a living spaceship. So, if you're in Grey Malkin, which I probably didn't pronounce right, if you're in that, you're pretty safe from zombie apocalypse. And if all the X teams are in there, they're all pretty safe from the zombie apocalypse. But his powers is basically, he has guns, and he can shoot. You rarely see Cable in the comics uses his powers. Now, there's like one or two episodes where he does use his powers, and they show him, and he's using telekinetics. Nate Gray, basically the same way, but Nate Gray is plagued with the legacy virus also, and it's worse from his dimension, where he's the most powerful being in his dimension. So when he pops into the 616 and him and Cable have at it, I don't remember one, that has nothing to do with this, but Nate Gray is pretty good in a fight, and he would be great against zombies, and he actually can use his mutant abilities to not hold his body together. Now, moving on from that, moving on from X-Force, we're going into Excalibur now. Now, before Excalibur had more than 13 people, is where I'm going. So I'm going to start with Cullen. I didn't pronounce that right. He's the guy with the lion face. Before they copied his face structure for Beast, he had it first. He has 2 swords. He's a great fighter in his world. He's like a gladiator or whatever. And then you have Cersei. And you have Lockheed the Dragon. We're leaving Kitty Pryde off again because she's a following founder. And that's why I left Nightcrawler off, because Nightcrawler's also in Excalibur. Now, Nightcrawler, he's in the option block. Because basically all he does is teleport, a couple of circus tricks, backflips, kicks. He's in the option block. He's a good fighter, he's a good swordsman, but, you know, we don't want him bamfing all over the place and accidentally getting into the battlefield without him consciously being aware of where the hell he's got to land. Now, Captain Britain, Elizabeth Braddock's twin brother, Brian Braddock, he's super strong and invulnerable, and he can fly. So, he'll be good in a fight, too. But like his sister, I gotta put him in the option block. Not taking anything away from Captain Britain, but he doesn't have any projectile powers, except for himself, you know, when he's flying around beating the hell out of people, and he's super strong. Okay, so he can throw tranks and buses and things at people. And even the double-decker. But I don't know if he can fight without his mutant powers. And we're going to leave off his cousin. Just like we're going to leave off Banshee's cousin. I left off Siren because Siren was an X-Factor, and she's Banshee's daughter, and she basically has the same thing as Banshee. She screams a lot. And her vibrational screams can shatter things. So she can do that. Shatterstar, the only real defense he has is he's good with a sword. There are 2 swords. And he's willing to stab himself to get the job done. So, therefore, that's why I didn't go into details of him. And again, Cable blasts everything, but he's a leader. So he can rally people together and make them do things that they wouldn't do. Because when he took over New Mutants and it became X-Force, he rallied them together and they bailed. And they found their own place, and most of the time he secretly used Grey Mocklin to resupply them, and then they found themselves somehow magically going back to the X-Men Mansion, as everything somehow winds up back at the X-Men Mansion. Now, back on Excalibur, you have a 3rd founding member, which is Rachel Summers, the daughter of Cyclops and Jean Grey from an alternate dimension, or an alternate timeline, or an alternate universe, the end. She has the Phoenix power. She was once a slave of the Warhound. She escaped. She came to our dimension. She learned how to physically fight through the Danger Room and with Wolverine. And she did really good in both Secret Wars 1 and Secret Wars 2. But she also has projectile powers. So she can shoot fire and burn shit the hell up. And you need people like that in the zombie apocalypse, because you can end a lot of zombies a lot better when you have projectile powers. You know. Adam X. Adam X is one of those special cases, and Vulcan. Both of those guys are Summers, but Vulcan has not really been considered really an X-Man. He was like a temporary, and Adam X, same thing. And they both have mutant powers. I just can't remember what the hell they are. But Adam X has these magical axes and swords and shit. He's a good swordsman. He's been trained the best of the best in the Shi'ar Empire, etc. His half-brother Vulcan can shoot projectile things out of his hand, so it's kind of hard to differentiate. He's also one of the most powerful Omega level mutants that there is, so I kind of wanted to get away from that. Megan, for Excalibur, she's a shapeshifter, so she would be more in the option block. I know you're thinking, but she's a shapeshifter. Like Mystique, they're in the option block because they're more or less more of a distraction than somebody capable of fighting. And Megan has caused a lot of rift and strife between Captain Britain and his jealousy and Nightcrawler. Cullen, on the other hand, is just like Shatterstar. He's really good with a sword, so, you know, that's where you are there. Lockheed is a dragon. He breathes fire. Enough said. I left off the guy in the suit because I can't remember his name. I left off Widget because Widget is a robot. And it's like, he can't get eaten by the zombies, but, you know, he can do things. I think I've missed a couple of other X-Men, but it's probably not relevant because I can't prove they were X-Men. Mimic was an X-Men way back in the heyday. Again, option block because he's a shapeshifter. Henceforth, the name Mimic. You probably know another character just like that from the cartoon named Morph. Now let's go into Generation X. Again, leaving off Banshee, bringing in the White Queen. She has the ability to make other mutants Omega level mutants, clearly, because of what she did with Iceman when she possessed his body. But she's basically just a telepath. Option block. Okay? We're leaving off Jubilee. we're gonna use Skin because that's Samuel Guthrie's Cannonball sister, and basically she's in the option block because all she does is rip off her skin. Same thing with Husk. Same thing with the skin guy. He's actually maybe Skin. I might have got them both mixed up there because their powers are basically the same thing. Husk is actually Cannonball's sister. My memory snapped right there. And she pulls off her skin. And Skin, he just stretches like Mr. Fantastic. So unless he's gonna like wrap zombies up and corral them and try not to get bit because he can probably be infected, option block. M, she has some superpowers, so she won't be an option block. I can't really describe her powers. They're like devastating though. So she will definitely be useful. And then let's see. I can't remember the bald black guy's name. But he has fighting skills with his hands as well as his powers, so that's good. And finally, for Generation X, my boy, who can't speak a lick, because if he opens up his mouth, he'll fry everything in sight, Chambers. Chambers, basically, if he opens up his mouth, he unleashes volcanic fire that can just wipe out everything in his path. So he doesn't talk to people. I think he may be telepathic, he might speak telepathically. But again, since the retconning and since the canceling of Generation X, it's hard to say. I'm not going into the X-Men 2099 because I don't remember all the characters, and I know that they were led by an Asian female and a guy who looked like Angel, but he wasn't Angel because he had demon wings. So, yeah. But I'm pretty sure they can handle a zombie apocalypse. They're X-Men, after all. Don't mess with the X-Men. So I've gone through every X team that I can remember from the 90s to the 80s. I didn't bring in any of the enemies because sometimes the enemies actually had become X-Men like Juggernaut, like Sabretooth. And I left them off. I left off Sabretooth. I didn't leave off Juggernaut. But I left them off because the video was only going to get massive if I kept going. And this thing's got to be about 20 minutes long. So I'm going to cut it right here. I'm Jazz Williams Jr. and it's 30 minutes long. Be seeing you.